Hi everyone, and welcome to Rescripted Podcast, where we could celebrate the great things in life, share about the not so great parts, and find out how we can rewrite those challenges, turn them into insightful moments that will lead us to change, to growth, to happiness, and empowerment, all so that we can live the life we truly want to experience. My name is Amy Quiles, and I'm a personal development coach that helps you overcome self-doubt and self-sabotage so that you can live your dream life. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about how you can boost your confidence with personal development. As a high achiever, you're used to success. You have great confidence in the things that you do because you excel. In everything you do, you excel, whether it's your personal life or professional life, you always get the outcome that you want. But for some reason, you feel like there's a little void inside and you don't know where it comes from because you've done everything. You've got the accolades, you have the wonderful, beautiful family, but for some reason, things just don't feel like they're properly aligned the way that you know that it can be. You feel like this is great, but I feel like it could be better. So what are some of the things that make you feel that way? And I love being very clear, very concise, and very direct. So I'm going to remove all the fluff and we're going to get right to it. A lot of the times, the things that are making us feel like maybe there's something missing, you love your life, there's not that there's anything truly wrong with it, but it just doesn't feel like the fullness that you thought it would. You don't have the vibrancy of every day that you really were hoping to have. And it's not that you're incapable and inadequate, but you just feel like, I don't know, there's some pieces missing to this puzzle and I'm not quite sure what they are. Well, a lot of times what that truly is that you're waiting for somebody else to validate your success in order for you to move on. So for instance, let's say you're at work, right? And you're used to climbing, the work ladder, the corporate ladder. And you feel like if I keep giving more, then they're going to see my value and I'm going to be able to continue to elevate. Some cases that's true. Some cases that's not true. You could be exceptional and you could still not climb that ladder the way you want to. Let's say in some relationships, you love this person, you're devoted to this person, you give them all of you, the best of you, everything of you, but it's just not right where you thought it would be. Why? You thought with your level of commitment, it's supposed to be met with that same level of commitment. But here's the thing. When you are so focused on being able to get somebody else's approval, what you're doing is removing your own ability to approve what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. So for instance, you really end up taking out what that person's role or vision of success is. So let's say you go to work, right? You have your boss who, let's say you work at a law firm, right? So there's so many different areas that you want to grow in. So you go, you work, and you come and you let them know how wonderful of an asset you can be to their team, to their corporation, to their firm. So you show and you highlight all the different ways that you're wonderful. And you're expecting them to give you the validation. So what they end up doing is they look at you and say, oh my God, this person is wonderful. How can it benefit my corporation more? So do you see the difference where you're like, how can I be viewed as someone who could successfully excel and continue to climb, where this person is looking at it and be like, this person's phenomenal. How can I include them in my sphere so that I can attain some of that great potential, right? So when you do that, you actually put yourself behind. And although it may look side by side, there's actually some distance there. So you do put yourself behind. So at some angles, it may look like it's side by side, but the truth of the matter is there's a large difference. And what would bridge that difference is you being able to understand the value that you bring, what your ultimate end goal is, and how you can successfully get there in a way that's authentic to you. Now, you can't get mad at the boss because the boss did precisely what was right for him. He saw something of value and he or she saw something of value and said, okay, how can I include that in my orbit so I can also gain some success from that? And of course, you were willing and able, and you added on to it. So there was no part that was, you know, devalued or dismissed or undermined. It was just the agreement that was made was you wanted to work together. But there were some blurred lines there, you know, and that's where communication was misconstrued, because you had one agenda and they had a different agenda. And not that either one are wrong, but they're two different agendas. And a lot of times that's where we get mixed up in things. We feel like everyone should see our value and everyone should want us to grow and propel in our greatest way. And we want to help them and we want to be a part of their team, but we want to be viewed at our top is our most valuable I guess achievements. We want to be valued and we want to be viewed for all the wonderful things that we are and that we contribute to the team. But that's you viewing life from your angle and some of the things that we do. And, you know, in a fun, cute manner, I do say it's like our toxic trait is that we think the world views the world as we view the world. And that's just not true. You have your perspective and you see what's going to be beneficial to you and what's considered to be successful for you. And of course, the next person also has their views and they may differ. Some things may align, but you're never going to find anyone that's going to have precisely everything to the T. The same ambition, the same goals, the same outlook, the same views. Not everything is always going to be 100% precise. So at that point, you need to know, like, you have an agenda, I have an agenda, and let's be clear of what that partnership is, whether it's a personal partnership, whether it's a professional partnership. So a lot of times we get lost and we end up playing small to be able to be part of a team that we think that's going to value us in the way that we want to, or grow in the way that we want to. And you have to see, is that the underlying agenda? Is that what, you know, this component, this person, this relationship, is that the foundation? And if it's not, then you can't really be upset that you didn't get your outcome, because the intent wasn't communicated in a clear manner. You know, that's why I love clear and concise information. I feel like there is freedom in clarity, because there's a great understanding and your work and your efforts will not go in vain. Neither will the other person. That's why contracts are amazing, because they take away a lot of the fluff and it stays true to the commitment in which it started, because life changes, right? There's so many ups and downs, and, you know, so many factors can change life. But a contract is really just meant to stay true to the original intent of why you guys wanted to partner in the first place. So those are some of the things to really take in and take into account, because once you realize you don't have to get external validation, and you can really start looking internally and say, okay, I was playing small to be a part of the team, but I didn't grow to the magnitude that I wanted to. What then? How do I get to where I want to if it's not being able to be elevated by, you know, association? In that part, you have to do some, you know, internal like inventory of yourself, and this is where personal development really comes into play, and this is why I love it so much. I truly, my heart really like beats for personal development. It is truly the areas where you're able to see maybe you didn't give yourself enough credit, and let's go ahead and let's revisit some of these things, you know. So you want to do that internal reflection and see where are the areas that maybe you sold yourself short a little bit. Maybe you allowed yourself to be a part of some areas and some things in life where you didn't have a full grasp of it. So it was natural to have a little bit of unclear understanding of what the expectation was, because you weren't really sure. So in those areas, in those circumstances, that's when you're underdeveloped. So you do want to learn and you want to grow, but then you have to see that once you get to a point where you are developed, your appetite for things change. Your hunger for excelling changes. But if you continue to allow somebody else to dictate when you grow, how you grow, and to what benefit, then you're always going to feel like you're shortchanging yourself. But if you see you're able to change that, you're able to shift that. And I know in my journey, this was one of the very first components I had to really take into account, because I loved serving other people so much, and that's just my culture. You know, we really serve each other, we really love on one another by acts of service. But it did get to a point where it was so much act of service that then I stopped servicing myself and stopped caring for myself and stopped realizing what it was that I needed in order to be happy, healthy, and whole. And that's where it kind of gets a little bit tricky, because y'all obviously want to serve, but if you serve from an area where you feel depleted, you're not really giving your best. And a lot of times that's where we tend to like lash out, and that's where we can kind of, you know, not be so graceful with others, because there's a part of us that is internally like irritated. We don't know what it is because we're doing everything we're supposed to do, right? According to society, you know, like guidelines, cultural guidelines and expectations, like you're doing all the right things. But for whatever reason, you don't feel 100% complete. You don't feel fulfilled. You feel like you're not aligned with your purpose, although you're doing everything right. And that's because you are forgetting to add your value. You're forgetting to infuse what matters to you. And you can't really abandon yourself, right? Because you're with you all the time, through the highs, through the lows. You never leave you. So you really have to cherish you as an individual, and you really have to protect you as an individual, because who can do that better, right? I mean, you will never leave your sight. And that's a beautiful thing. So you do have to care for yourself. And one of the ways of doing that is truly understanding what your values are, your boundaries, and what environment you really want to create for yourself. And of course, I know that there's easier said than done, so I don't leave you on your own to go ahead and do that. I obviously made something, because I wouldn't bring it up if I didn't have a great tool for you. But there was a course, a little mini course that I created, and it is called precisely that. It's values, boundary, and lifestyle. And what it uncovers is allow you to connect with those emotional components that really associate with your values, you know, what matters to you. And we dive deep and we go into boundaries. And boundaries isn't always kind of putting like such a stern line of like what you'll accept and what you won't accept. Boundaries is really more about being fair to you. And of course, you're going to lose some stuff along the way, because if there's some things that are not valuing you or valuable to you, then you have to remove it. And sometimes that's a part of personal development that a lot of people get nervous with and get scared with and kind of stop when they realize that things are shifting and things are start missing out on things, and they start losing some friendships and some bonds. And it's not that they wanted them anyway, but it's hard to lose anything. It's hard to lose anything. Like even if you were to lose, I don't know, your favorite, lip gloss, you're going to, look for it frantically a little bit. If you lose your favorite shirt or pair, like a pair of earrings or something like that, you're going to feel it, So the same thing when it's an actual person, it's actual experience. Sometimes moving, that's definitely something that's going to impact you greatly. But you have to see if you're creating boundaries. That's because now you're starting to be fair to yourself, and you're creating an area and a boundary and an environment that's going to be healthier for you, which then leads into lifestyle. What lifestyle do you want to live? So many people think that lifestyle has to do with your income, and it truly doesn't. Your lifestyle is according to what you feel authentic in. Some people do like a more artistic type of vibe. Some people like more of an elegant kind of vibe. And none of that has to do with finances. None of that has to do with like educational background. It's all what makes you feel comfortable. It all is about what inspires you, to be creative, to be the better version of you, because our environment does influence us. So we can't dismiss that. So a lot of times you'll see a disconnect between how somebody wants to be and what their environment is. So a lot of times that in and of itself causes friction, and they don't really know why they feel that way. But once they start cleaning house, you know, they really start kind of aligning with what's important to them and what matters to them. They start to see it and they start to feel it, and they don't realize how impactful those things are, you know. So a lot of times you want to start over, start fresh, start clean, and some people want to move to a whole new state, or they go on vacation to run away from like everyday life. And of course you could do that if that's authentic to you, if it's natural to you, if it aligns with what you're doing. Of course, do it. But if you're not doing that to better yourself, and you're doing that to run away from something, then it is really, really worth your time to deep dive and see what it is that's making you feel overwhelmed, that you feel like you have to run away. Because no matter where we go, we're going to take our habits with us, right? So it's not always changing the environment, but it's more so changing the habits, because we'll take that with us everywhere we go. Sometimes we may turn it off for a moment. We may be able to put on the mask for a little bit, but eventually, if something's not natural to you, if something's not authentic to you, the mask will eventually fall. And you don't want that. You want to live a life that you're happy, you're fulfilled, it's authentic, your life feels almost autopilot, because it's so natural for you that you don't want to have to worry about, you know, did I come off the right way? Did I not come off the right way? You never want to worry about that, because if you hold yourself to a standard, then that in and of itself will let you know that you are in alignment with what is true to you. So if you're interested in deep diving into those components, and you want to stop playing small, you want to stop worrying about being validated by your peers and by others, and you really want to start looking internally and start developing yourself, then I invite you to go ahead and try the course, Values, Boundaries, and Lifestyle, so that you can start creating the environment that's best suited for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you enjoyed this episode and feel like it was insightful, then I ask you to please rate it, like it, and subscribe, and share it with someone you feel will enjoy it. I'll be back here next week, and we will continue to discuss matters regarding personal development. Take care, guys. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.